Found out wife cheated on me with guy from a casino, so I got revenge by doing this. I can't believe this happened to me, but I feel like sharing it with you all. I met my wife a few years ago at work. We initially started off as just friends. I was 25, she was 32. We all went out to celebrate my sister's birthday. And at this point, my future wife, will call her, Zura, had been dating another coworker for 2 years. Somehow in the events of the night, Zira and I were left alone in drinking together. She admitted to me that she was about to dump the guy she was with. I saw this as an opportunity. So I confessed my true feelings for her, and she felt the same way. Black small square. We then started dating. Ever since, we kept it on the down low to avoid drama. But I didn't think our relationship was going to last anyway. Fast forward 3 years later, and the family had accepted that we were together and were helping us plan our wedding. Black small square. Everything seemed to be falling into place for us to continue our life together. After we got married, I took her to Las Vegas for our honeymoon. Our stay was scheduled to last for 1 week. On the first night there, we were playing at a cards table when Zero went on a winning streak. I wasn't having much luck and didn't want to play against her. So I told her I'd be back in about 30 minutes. When I came back, a man was sitting beside her. He looked very smart and handsome and had apparently bought my wife a drink. I asked him to move down the seat so I could sit next to my new led wife. He looked distressed but not discouraged. He moved down the seat and we carried on playing. He left at one point and eventually Zero and I moved to other games in the casino. I saw the same guy again during our vacation. I tried to stay with her the whole week. But on the 3rd and 6th days, we separated for a few hours. When we caught up again, on the 3rd day, she was happy to show me all the money she won after dinner. On the 6th night, she started complaining of a severe stomach ache and told me she'd be in the bathroom for a while before rushing off. I decided to play a little while she was in there and stayed in the same vicinity. 45 minutes later, I was getting anxious. I called into the women's room for her and there was no response. I frantically called her phone and there was no answer. I decided to go back to our hotel room, wondering if somehow she missed me coming out of the bathroom, and went to go lay down. Black small square. She wasn't there. I called her over and over, even checking the location app we share. But all they could tell me was that she was still in the same casino, even though it probably wouldn't get me anywhere. I started knocking on hotel room doors that were close to her location marker on the app. After 3 people answered the door, highly annoyed that I was looking for someone, I was about to give up. I decided to knock on one more door. It took a while before a man answered. I asked him if he saw a woman with Zero's description. And as he was telling me off, I saw her come out of the bathroom behind him fully nude. She was absolutely shocked to see me standing there. Black small square. I guess she totally forgot about the location app. Since my heart shattered to pieces, I just walked away from them both towards my hotel room. When she called after me, her voice cracked and she begged me to wait for her. Black small square. I got back to the hotel room and locked the additional locks so that she couldn't open it, while she pounded on the door and cried. My wheels turned. How could she be in another man's hotel room on her honeymoon? I knew I recognized him throughout the week. But how could she decide to sleep with him? Why would she do it? I couldn't breathe and dropped to the floor. I threw up. Black small square Zura heard me, and for some reason, it made her sob. Even more people were gathering in the hallway watching the show. I decided to let her in so she could explain herself. She tried to jump into my arms, but I pushed her away and asked her if she was a lunatic. I ordered her to sit down and tell me what the hell was going on. She admitted that she got to know him at the cards table on the first night and told him she was married. He didn't care about that and demanded that she meet up with him later so he could show her a good time and win her some money. He gave her his number, which is why he didn't care. When I returned to the table, they met up again on the second, third and of course, sixth night. I begged her to tell me why she would do this. Her face twisted into her crying and she claimed she didn't know that she was a foolish woman who was flattered and impressed by this man. He won her thousands of dollars throughout the week. When he asked her to come up to his hotel room, she didn't hesitate. According to her, he earned a one-time fling black small square afterward. She planned to return to me as if nothing was wrong, and simply show me the money she won gambling. Black small square. I put on my best acting face and pretended she was a genius. I told her what she did was worth it for all the money she got from this guy. Black small square. I told her not to do it again without telling me first. But that I wasn't upset with her anymore. She cried in relief and happiness. It took only minutes for her to fall asleep like all was right with the world. While I snapped into action, black small square, I took the $9,754 out of her purse and all of my stuff from the hotel room. I got myself a room at a different hotel. I spent time in a hot tub while I planned my wife's downfall. As soon as my lawyer's office opened, I called him and spoke to him about getting an annulment so that it was as if I was never married to Zara. As soon as I did this, she started calling me over and over again before I blocked her number. She left me 2 voicemails that were mostly unintelligible because of how hard she was crying. She told me she was sorry and she knew what she did was wrong. She asked me to forgive her so that she could love me the way I deserve to be loved. I didn't tell her. But I thought to myself, she was supposed to show me that from the beginning, not after she slept with another man on her honeymoon. She'd also mentioned that she didn't have any money to get home. That made me laugh. She had no trouble at all finding a man to win her money. I boarded the flight home without her. It was empowering to leave the person that betrayed me behind in another state. She called her mom and several other family members asking them for help and telling them I left her their black small square. As soon as they asked why I did that, she didn't have a good explanation. One by one, they got off the phone with her to message me and ask what was going on. Black small square. I happily explained everything over the internet while I was on the plane home. She messaged me 2 black small square begging me to stop telling everyone that she cheated on me. I replied with maybe you should have thought about what you were doing before doing it. My entire family greeted me at the airport giving me hugs and support while I handled the betrayal in my heart. No one from my family ever replied to her again. As far as I know, Zara spent several days wandering around Las Vegas without a place to sleep or shower before her mom saved up enough money to buy her a plane ticket home. Black small square. Her parents were so disappointed that she was no longer a married woman due to her actions that they could barely speak to her after she moved in with them. Black small square. That was the last I heard about her. I don't think she has a cell phone right now. although it was the hardest thing I ever had to go through. I still think I dodged a bullet by not having kids with her. The money I took from her helped me recover from what she did. Black small square. It is so wonderful to hear what a supportive family you have. When she betrayed you, they stayed by your side to show support and help you through it. Black small square. You did the right thing by separating yourself when things were calm and never looking back. This woman snuck away from you to spend time with another man. No amount of money or temptation should have made that betrayal worth it to her by justifying it. She shows she does not have the maturity needed for a lifelong commitment to someone. It is very fortunate that you got out of the marriage by an annulment and have a chance to start over. I wish you the best of luck in life. Now, for today's second story, I suspected my wife was more excited than normal for our 13-year-old son's birthday party. I didn't know it at the time, but she was having an emotional affair with the father of her son's best friend. Weeks before the party, she arranged for the father and son to come stay at our house for 3 nights since they'd moved out of town over the summer and our son needed his best friend to attend his birthday party. She was acting super happy and pleased with herself. After the arrangements were made, I asked her why she was exceptionally excited and she thought I was being silly and said I should be just as excited for her son's birthday. She was on her phone a lot before the party. But my wife was usually on Facebook or TikTok. On the day, the father and son arrived at her house. She was dressed nicely. She always was, but I could tell she went the extra mile for some reason. The first night with the man in her house, I stayed awake until 4 a.m. or so, but eventually crashed. By the time I woke up, my wife was out of bed and I was really upset about it. Black small square. I stumbled out of our room in my robe and found them sitting at the dining room table. The kids weren't up yet and they were eating breakfast. My wife made, black small square. I glared at them awkwardly. She greeted me super nicely as if that would assure me everything was fine. We played some games with the kids and took them to the park. I talked with the guy a little. His wife passed away a year ago. He and his son were evicted from the home they rented for years and the only place he could find to rent was out of town. Black small square. I thanked him for bringing his son to the party. And he thanked me for sharing my home. He didn't thank me for sharing my wife because he didn't want me to know that part. The next night, I felt a little more at ease assuming I built some trust and respect with the dude. After we all went to bed, I fell asleep early and slept the whole night through. The next morning, my wife and the guy were sitting together at the table again. They sat with their faces inches from each other like they were about to kiss. I grunted a good morning and they both jumped as I caught them. My wife broke the awkwardness by announcing we needed to start decorating for the party. Before we knew it, party guests started to arrive. Black small square. Amongst the yelling of children and joyful screams, I lost track of my wife and the dude. When it was time for the cake, I started looking for them. They weren't in any obvious room in the house. So eventually I opened the laundry room door. I found my wife sitting on the dryer straddling the man between her legs. She was wearing a skirt and it was pulled up pretty high. My wife yelled, pushed him away and jumped off the dryer. She asked me what was up and if it was time to do the cake. I stared at her like she was crazy and it took her a few painful seconds to ask me if I saw what just happened. Black small square. I said yes and demanded an explanation. While I stared down both of them, her hands flew up to cover her mouth. She started crying and said she would explain it all to me but pleaded with me to wait until after our son's party was over. Since I was unexpectedly about to discover something my wife intended to keep from me, my blood was boiling. I told her I would not wait and that we were going to talk about this right now. Black small square. I grabbed her hand, dragged her into her bedroom and shut the door. I told her to start talking and tell me everything. Black small square. She started by saying that it was supposed to be a one-time thing and she could never bring herself to do it again, no matter how much she needed it. I was blown away. Black small square. I asked her what she was talking about and she admitted she slept with the guy twice last night. And yesterday morning, he told her he needed it more than he could stand because they'd been talking about having sex and building it up for months. Black small square. Ever since last school year when our son and his son were playing football together, they started texting, sexting and talking on the phone. Black small square. She begged me for forgiveness. But I was too busy processing this information to hear her. She'd been having an emotional affair for half of the year talking to this guy about having sex with him until she arranged for him to sleep in her house and finally made it happen. Black small square. I told her if she didn't leave the house immediately, I would tell everyone attending our son's party to leave. Of course, I probably wouldn't have done this, but it convinced her to start packing a few things. Black small square. I stormed out of our room to confront the home wrecker, only to find he was gone. Black small square. I looked for his son among the blissful party guests and he was gone. None of the kids noticed anything happening. They were distracted by a movie before my wife left. I told her I didn't want to see her again until she was ready to sign divorce papers. She fell to her knees and cried, begging my forgiveness. I told her she was making a fool of herself and the only way our family could have stayed together as if she would have kept her pants on and wits about her. Black small square. I told her I would tell her son that grandma was having some trouble and needed her to help around the house for a few days. She cried harder. But after weighing her options, she got up and somberly drove to her parents' house. I'd like to say our son handled the separation and divorced well, but I can tell it hurt him. He chose to stay with me in the family home. This broke his mother's heart. But she knows she has no one to blame but herself. After 18 years of marriage, she chose to give herself away right under my nose. After the short-lived affair, her lover refused to see her again, out of remorse. Whenever I see her for visitation with our son, she looks at me like she still loves me. She expresses her regret and wishes for me to find a better wife than her. Black small square. Well, all her wishes must have paid off because I did remarry and she is better than my ex. I know she stopped wishing for my sake and switched to more self-centered wishing. Wow, black small square. Black small square. I am so sorry. Your wife betrayed you and your son like that. Neither of you deserve this. And I can only hope your ex will be tormented by her poor decision for years to come. You made the right decision to file for divorce immediately. She did not hesitate to start something behind your back and invite the man in question into the family home. Someone like that can't be trusted ever again. I'm so relieved to hear that you and your son recovered nicely from this because the only person who should have to feel remorse is your ex-wife. Many people have years like chapters in their life, and just because a chapter ends doesn't mean your life is over. Black small square. I have complete faith in your ability to carry on, and thank you for sharing this story. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also comment below with your thoughts on what happened. Take care. Black small square. Black small square.